Hey guys, it's your boy Luis Torres, and I just want to give a quick shout out to Roger Morales, because when we were little kids skateboarding, he was the first of our entire crew who was like, I'm gonna start playing guitar, and I know exactly what guitar to get. And this guy ended up getting a BC Rich Warlock, and I've been in love with BC Rich ever since Roger ended up getting his. Also, a huge shout out to Michael Tanzer. I ended up buying his BC Rich Warlock. You know, he posted it on Facebook Marketplace, and I was just like, stop it. That is like the ideal BC Rich Warlock to buy. So, Michael, you're the best. We ended up meeting just literally a few miles up the road from my house, and I bought this absolutely amazing guitar. And Stevie, I don't even know how to pronounce your last name. Is it Sherritt or Sherritt? Sherritt, I'm thinking, because he is in Scotland, and I think that's how you guys pronounce last names, where you stress one N versus the other, kind of like Greek. So that being said, I picked up this BC Rich Warlock, which is an NJ series. There it goes. So an NJ, if you say New Jersey, I'm going to kick you in the ball sack hard, because it stands for Nagoya, Japan, because around that time, that's where BC Rich was making a lot of their guitars in the the mid 80s. And even though this is an NJ series, this one was actually made in Korea, and they kept the NJ series just because of two things. One, it was already a series that was within the BC Rich line for a few years. And also, the company that bought the rights to mass produce BC Rich was based in New Jersey. It didn't stand for New Jersey, even when they were owned by a company in New Jersey. It was always Nagoya, Japan. So this one is blue on black crackle with a Floyd Rose, and Michael actually installed a Seymour Duncan Invader. You can't read that it says Seymour Duncan because it's actually in silver, but it says it right there, right on the bottom. 24 frets, diamond. I know they don't call these diamonds. I forget what they call them specifically, but it's an absolutely amazing guitar. It's sick. So it's weird. The only thing is that your straps are actually in the back, right? There and there. So if you just missed that, the back side just came undone. Stevie, who's out in Scotland, he put me back onto BC Rich because I want to say he predominantly owns BC Rich guitars. So he has a Warlock, I know that. I think he has 2 BC Rich bitches, which I've always loved because Paris Mayhew, who is the guitarist in the Cro-Mags, the first band I've ever seen in my entire life was the Cro-Mags. And Paris Mayhew was still in the band, and that's the guitar that he had. And I remember seeing them on stage, and I'm just like, what the hell is that? This guy needs to get one. And it was a BC Rich bitch. To this day, I still haven't gotten a bitch. Just got my first Warlock, but maybe I should get a bitch next because I just think they look fucking amazing. So Stevie, for the last 2 years, I want to say, always posts photos of him playing with his band, and I'm just like, I need to get one day. And then, of course, Roger, because he turned me on to them initially, to BC Rich and the Warlock shape. And then, of course, Michael for posting the reverse headstock Warlock with Invader, 24 frets, with crackle paint. I was just like, yes, I reached out to him just like, where are you? Let's meet. I will buy it. No, hey, does it have... Dude, I didn't care if the thing had any issues. I prayed to God, please don't have any problems. And so the only little tiny things was the fact that, I guess when they put the Invader in, they did something, I guess, with these 2 toggles, but they weren't there. So I don't know if he did it, if the previous owner may have done it, but it only had 1 toggle switch. These 2 are fake, but there were 2 holes there. And if you look at this model for this year, 1989, you'll see that some of them had 3 toggles. So even though they're not connected, don't think I'll ever connect them. I just wanted to fill in the holes with those. So they were $10 each. I had this thing, not even joking, completely in pieces. I had the tuners off. I had the nut lock off. I had the neck off. Every piece of hardware on here, I had taken completely off, except I took the knobs off, and I left that toggle in there. These 2 weren't there, but I left that there just because I don't like messing around with electronics. But I literally took everything apart, left the pickups in there, wiped it all clean, oiled the fretboard twice, gave it a shitload of WD-40 just so things turn a little easier, especially on the bridge. That way, I can fine-tune them and it's easier. But aside from that, this thing is absolutely amazing. Do not make fun of me right there. But listen, if you're like me and you're a geek, you're gonna love this guitar just because, it's history. This is metal history, period. This shape helped make so many bands, with the except, there's certain bands like Slayer, they did use BC Rich. I don't think they used the Warlock. I think Kerry King, did he use the bitch? Early on, I think he used the bitch. But dude, every death metal band in the early 90s had a BC Rich Warlock. And the color scheme is absolutely awesome. It's even in the back. So, and I love that it matches the, it's the same on the headstock. So this is it was a great buy. It's a great buy because it just reminded me of my childhood and skateboarding with Roger Morales, who was the shit back then. He was on Team Trouble from 52nd and 4th Avenue in Sunset Park, Brooklyn. And, all those guys were nasty. You had Obed Rios, who eventually skated for Shut Skateboards, which is today, it's Zoo York. So a lot of those guys rode for Zoo York back then. And, half of those kids ended up getting sponsored and were just amazing. Roger was the one, 1987. So if you skated back then, 1987, this fucking guy was ollieing like 8 decks for distance. Think of how far 8 decks is, and dude, just solid, and just backside wall rides, was just nasty. And then of course he starts playing guitar, and he had the longest fingers. I'm gonna send this to Roger, he's gonna laugh. And this dude had the long, and he's tall, so he's got to be, I don't know, I'm 5'8". I always tell people in my videos that I'm 6'5", but Roger had to be 6'1" with long fingers. So when he would play, it was just like, dude, how are you even doing that? And they looked like witch fingers, so they were so long. But he was a 6 skateboarder, so one of the guys that I looked up to growing up. So when he started playing guitar, I was just like, this guy has always wanted to play guitar because my dad plays guitar. And every video back then, of course, featured metal bands. So, of course, you jump right down that, road. And if you play guitar, you start playing McRad. That's my boy Chuck Treese, who's the singer, drummer. He's the singer guitarist of McRad, but he plays drums for Tommy Guerrero's band, who used to be, they were both on Paulo Peralta. And Chuck Treese is the man. He's just an absolutely gifted musician. But those are the bands that I listened to growing up. And then, of course, eventually got into Underdog, which is a band that, again, Chuck Treese was in. And, of course, all those other bands, SFA. If they were in a skateboard video, Agent Orange, all those old school punk bands, skate punk bands. Who else? What was the band with the faces? Drunk Engines? What? Yo, dude. If you remember Drunk Engines at McRad, you are the man. And probably skateboarded too. So, listen, guys, if you get the chance to buy a BC Rich Warlock NJ series from the late 80s, get one. You're going to love it. It feels awkward only because I'm not used to the way it's balanced. And it actually leans a little forward for me, similar to the way, similar to how my Washburn Ola England Solar guitar kind of leans a little forward, just because the little strap nut lock is back here. This one's a little different because it's not back here; it's also in the back, so it's a little weird. But if you get the chance to buy one, buy it. I think you're going to love it. And you can just go ahead and start a death metal band if you have to. All right, guys. Listen, thank you so much for watching. You guys are the absolute best. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't. If you have a BC Rich, hell yeah, subscribe, because it's a fucking BC Rich channel now. But overall, just, subscribe because I'm fucking silly as fuck, and you always hope that I post a new video. All right, guys, listen, thank you so much for watching. We're at 620 subscribers. We're trying to get to 1,000, hopefully 1 million, so we can kill and crush those other guys. You guys are the best, and as usual, I'll talk to you guys soon.